What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Nah, man, how the heck? I would ask how you've been, but we've been together nonstop for 5 days, 6 days now.
I think we know too much about how well we're doing.
Yes, we've been, for the people at home, we've been touring for 7 days almost. I think it's like exactly 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days now.
So that's how many hours together? Sleeping in the same room.
Right.
Yeah, we've been cutting it up. We've been chatting.
I know. We've been getting some inside jokes going on too.
Yes, yeah. A lot of more Dragon Ball Z references than you would think, given both of our demographics.
That's what bonds us together.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all about unity comes down to the Dragon Ball Z references that you know.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know.
And then which villain do you think is the coolest? And it's like Majin Buu, obviously, by a
Right.
mile.
Of,
Everybody
of
knows that.
course.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go a different route, Prince Vegeta. Not regular Vegeta,
Yeah. Prince
Prince
Vegeta.
Vegeta.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Who I look to for motivation in my times of need.
He just before a show. All right, I'm ready.
Did you ever try and go Super Saiyan?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You ever see, what's nuts is they've got some like video recordings of the guy, like the actual like original voice of Goku in like the Japanese language.
Yeah.
So you could see the videos of him in the recording booth going Super Saiyan.
Oh shit.
That exists.
Hold on, really?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Okay, I got a question. So you done it before?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever tried to like scream like that loud. There was like one episode I remember where they were like, you can harness like the energy, and it was talking about like do like a deep breath and you can get like a, I don't know, whatever they called like the energy,
The
like,
chi or something like
yeah.
that, or
And I did that and I was like, oh my God, I felt something, but I realized I wasn't breathing. I just forgot to breathe. So of course I felt like something in my stomach. I was like, oh my God, I'm a Super Saiyan. And it's like, no, you're on the verge of passing out.
you fucking just restricted the airways. You're
Yeah.
just not fucking letting the air come out.
Yeah.
You doing like the one part of it, but not the full like chi part.
Yeah, the Super Saiyan was such a dude. It was such a boy thing.
Of
Just like
course.
it's like I want to be this. If you're telling me I could become the strongest, and I
Yeah.
just scream, and
I like how you doing that position right there with your hands. 'Cause I feel like that's the one.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't stand still as a board trying to go Super Saiyan. It's always that you always hunch over.
Yeah.
You always like the.
I would prescribe that if I was like a doctor who was like treating little boys. Like I would be like, hey, what are your problems? It's like, oh, I'm just like restless. I'm like, okay, just try and go Super Saiyan like once a day. It probably gets like a lot of energy out.
Yeah.
As long as you're not like popping blood vessels. I think
Right.
that would probably be
And
the
breathing.
concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, breathing is huge.
Oh, a big time. If you're doing like this and you're not breathing, that's for sure you're gonna pass out.
Yeah, it was the perfect show for boys.
Oh,
The absolute perfect show.
all right. What do you remember the first time you tried doing it? Like the place you was at that you tried doing Super
Oh,
Saiyan?
Solo. Yeah, Solo. I think I was like watching an episode like on TV. And you know what was crazy is I was embarrassed by watching Dragon Ball Z. I don't know why. I like kept it secret. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't feel like I could share that with other people or try and like seek it out of just like, you guys watching this? Because it was Toonami. Toonami was
Right.
it was like on Cartoon Network, and it was like a section of Cartoon Network that was like specifically anime, and it would be on like, I remember it would be on before like football practice when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, and
So,
I like watch it then. Yeah.
You know what's funny though is that it was like an open secret because like I mean
Yeah.
everybody watched it,
Yeah.
but it was such an open secret that it's kind of like you only tell one or two people certain things that happened in the last episode, but not it wasn't like an open conversation.
Yeah, you didn't want to be like, you didn't want to say how much you knew. And I think it was like something happened with being a nerd while we were kids. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground, but like it's way more acceptable to be like super into like Marvel and comic books now. And I don't even know where the stigma would have come from of like, oh, that's, you're a nerd, you're watching like Japanese cartoons or something like that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like, I mean, my brother he's like the oldest Gen Z. And before I see a Marvel movie, I'm like, hey, can you just tell me where this exists in the cinematic universe? Like, that's like,
Oh shit.
knowing that shit is now like a badge of honor, at least in Gen Z and at least amongst like dudes and stuff.
Yeah.
In a way that like, I don't think it really was when we were growing up. I was kind of just like a closeted like Dragon Ball Z fan. I'm just like, yeah, fucking spirit
Right.
bombing.
A closet with no door.
Yeah, exactly. The only
Just
way to get
open.
out. The only way to get out is to fucking.
You could have blown the walls open, so you just stayed there, but it still was no door. So everyone's
Yeah.
like, are you doing the Super Saiyan?
Yeah. Again? Just keep blowing the doors off of my house, going Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I think the first place I tried, I remember I was in the shower and I
Yeah.
tried doing it. And,
That's a good spot for it,
yeah, good thing I had enough water to just shower away the shame that I had after doing it. So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
clearly this is not gonna work. Clearly, this black boy is not gonna get gold hair
Yeah.
and get gold eyebrows.
I remember like there was some meme that there was something and people were like, oh, Piccolo's black.
You know what's funny?
Have black people claimed Piccolo, the character from Dragon Ball Z?
It's you cannot.
Yeah.
Like cause he has so many stoic type of like features that are like an OG would have. Like he had Gohan. He's the one took him under the wing. Like that was such a like.
He was an OG, yeah.
Yeah, that's such like a
mentor kind of.
Mentor, tough love. He's like, yo, suck it up. Like, yo, when you go out there, it's gonna be really hard out here. Like you can't be crying. You know what I mean? So it's like very. Oh, that's my dad. Like, oh my God, like that's.
Yeah, I can't remember but it checks out for me too. I can see like, yep, go for it.
Yeah,
Piccolo's black.
He was always down for it. He's always about the action. He always he's like, hey, what the he's always like, yo, I know you ain't trying to come here and try to do this shit. Yeah. I mean, you get fucked up sometimes. But,
episode 1, episode 2, maybe comes back for like a rebirth, like season finale.
And I think even his facial expressions, I ain't gonna lie, that was that of, I mean, he had responsible expressions that a black person would have in that scenario. Yeah. Like you see somebody power levels and this and that or whatever. Everyone's like, whoa, where's that coming from? He's like, ugh. Like he's just like, oh, what the, you know what I mean? He's like, yo, what the fuck? Yo, somebody over 10,000 is coming, yo. Like, what the fuck, you know?
It's over 10,000. Yeah, that was the meme. I can't remember what it was.
Is it 10,000 or 9,000?
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, 9,000. The fucking censor break, like, you know.
Yeah. Oh god, that was and we should explain. Dragon Ball Z was a Japanese cartoon.
Yes, it's very Japanese.
It was gigantic when we were, and I don't even know like if it was like being released while we were that age, like 11, 12, kind of. That would probably be like 2001, 1999.
I think so.
I don't know if they were coming out at that point in America or if they'd come out in Japan like years before, and then I never knew like when it was coming out.
I know they had Dragon Ball, and then Dragon Ball Z was something. I know Dragon Ball. I only got to it like a little bit after Dragon Ball Z because he had like so many sagas.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of like explaining the sagas to us, which I think like again like nerd culture now, it's like where everything fits into things, and you'd be watching Dragon Ball, it's like it's kind of the same. Was this produced after all of the like you had just had no idea? It's like he has a monkey tail. Like I don't understand anything that's going on.
Yeah, what's happening? The Saiyans and what is that about? And then like. I mean, it was just straight for dudes. It was just straight violence. Like, I mean, we're in a Cell Saga where like literally Gohan. His father, Goku, just watching him getting just like, beat down by Cell. I'm talking about like, even watching it now, I'm like, God damn, like straight, not like I'm holding my punches back. I'm talking about cross, like boom, boom.
Hitting kids, hitting animals. There was a lot of violence.
A lot of planets getting destroyed. There's like fucking lasers, like cutting through the core of the Earth's crust and shit. Like, he's like, yo, what the fuck, yo?
It was a good time though.
People died, came back.
Well, I don't even know if you can rewatch it, but like the joke going for Dragon Ball Z was always like, you'd have like the previously on Dragon Ball Z, and like that would be at the beginning of the episode, and it would be like 5 minutes of explaining where you were at, and then it'd be the episode, and then it would be like next time on Dragon Ball Z. So I think the episodes were like maybe 20, 25 minutes, and it was probably only like 10 minutes of actual animating because you're just constantly chopping like shit from the last episode. You do the episode and then shit from the next episode. Yeah, and it always showed like the environment like changing or exploding or something like that, like a mountain getting cut in half, or the animals running while the trees are splitting at. It was a lot of expose. It was very artistic expose type of like shots and stuff. And it was like, all right, that's cool, but like, yo, Goku, what's happening now? Like, where you at with this Frieza thing? You know? Yeah. But, what a show. What a great show.
But changing gears. So So you're originally from Jersey, right? From the mean streets of North Jersey.
I'm north, you're south.
Yes, South Jersey.
Yeah.
Central Jersey, but South for this purposes.
There's no central. It's
Ah,
north and
there
south.
is such thing as central. Yes, it's so easy to cut things in 3/4. South Jersey is its own.
I just don't know where Central Jersey, like where the north part would be. Morristown, maybe? Is that like the end of Central Jersey?
Yeah, so New Brunswick, I would still consider central.
Yeah.
When you start getting to, damn, what's the name of that? No, Linden is definitely, that's North Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metro Park.
Okay.
Maybe Metro Park is that's when we started, butting heads to like north to central.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like because Trenton is like not South Jersey.
Yeah.
Really. It's its own thing. Like even that middle part going like towards the shore and shit,
Yeah, I think Jersey's like not. It's as small as it is. It's 8 million people, maybe 9 million people now, and it's not a monolith. Like it's a kind of a complicated state.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of different pockets and stuff. Like specifically, I grew up in North Jersey at the time when like The Sopranos was on, and you'd watch The Sopranos. I wasn't even really allowed to watch it while it was on. You just knew that it was like gigantic while it was happening. It was like the biggest TV show. And then you would watch, like I remember watching like the pilot episode and they shoot in this location. And I was like, that's around the corner from me.
Oh, shit.
So that was like where, that was kind of our, like a lot of people, I think a lot of dudes my age and like adults my age that had like Italian last names or something that kind of clung to the ideals that you saw in The Sopranos or that you saw in Goodfellas or that you saw in like, there's just like a weird cultural time when like Italian American actors were like a big deal, especially like for dudes and stuff. So I think that's the best explanation of like where I grew up is like there was a pizza place that was like all cash, and there was always people that you knew like maybe are like mob related, but you can't say like.
Yeah.
It was cool to think that people were in the mob or something, and then like there is like one person, I won't get into any details, but
please don't.
There was a dad who disappeared, and like people were like,
I watched the movies.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of where I just like fucking crammed. New Jersey's crammed with people.
Too many people.
Yeah, big like Italian, like or just no actual relationship to the country of Italy, but just like a relationship to like Italian American like cultural institutions, and I was like half Irish too, which I don't really like talk about on stage because I'll just pick one. Maybe for the second hour I'll talk about.
For the sake of comedy, I'm not gonna disclose my other. I'm not gonna line myself with the other half of me.
But like family, like all like tri-state area, a lot of people like. You can trace our lineage like way back to like Ellis Island, like people coming in and then just like sticking around. Like all of my cousins like are like Northeast. Some of them will go as far south as like Virginia, and then we just all like my mom's side, my dad's side, everybody just like stuck around in that like New York metro area, like as far out as like. So I'd visit my cousins on like Long Island. They'd come to us. Like my dad had family like in New Jersey and stuff. So it was all like everybody was kind of right on top of each other.
Wow, just right in that northeast bubble.
Real close to the city, but like the city doesn't. It's weird. It has like, now that I live in New York, and like living in New York, you're like, you recognize that it has like, it's the center of so many things. But growing up outside of the city was kind of just like it just felt like a movie set. It wasn't even a place you could like go to or like get into. Like it's so difficult to navigate as like a child. You need your parents to take you there. It's difficult to get in. Like my mom would like take me into New York for like take your kid to work day.
Oh, she worked in New York. Okay.
Yeah, she worked in New York. My dad worked in New York, and it just didn't feel like a place. It was so. I mean, my experience with New York growing up was just like different corporate buildings, like just different, gigantic, like 50-story. You go in, and it's all like just hanging out with like my parents' coworkers and stuff. And then now living there as like a 30-year-old, you're just like, oh, this is just like, it's got like a beating heart of like every different, there's just levels to it, there's layers to it. Like I remember talking to a guy about living in New York, and it was, I won't say his name, but he was a comedian. I think you might know him, but he was he was really into the illegal poker world in New York. And so he was a bouncer, but he'd also like be involved in, whatever, like high stakes illegal gambling in New York.
Wow.
And I found that out because I was doing a comedy class with him, and we were in this like rented studio space where there's like a bunch of different, it's one floor and there's like 7 different small studio spaces. And we walk out of the comedy class, we walk by another corner. He's like, "Oh, that studio is where we used to run like an illegal gambling ring."
Wow.
But it was in the same place that we were doing a stand-up comedy class. And then if you went down another studio, it was like, depending on the day, like some sort of, I don't know, some commercial where like all the people were like African American, and so it was just like full of just like African American like actors and models, and everybody's like hot and dressed real cool, and you have no idea what's going on. But like that's New York is just all of these layers just like on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it's just however, wherever you want to, like whatever layer you're on, that's just what you see. But then you can like go up and down, and like there's just different scenes and stuff. But New Jersey just felt kind of more fractured than that. It just felt like it didn't feel like everything was like meshing or anything. Like I was in growing up, it was like New Jersey sports, and that was it. But it just felt like, I don't know, it was just kind of, New York is just like super like lateral, and you can see everything, but it's like vertical as well. And then I think New Jersey just felt like kingdoms, these like small little kingdoms you like travel around from like kingdom to kingdom, which I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
No, it does. I mean, and it's kind of crazy too, because it's like the most highly densely populated state in the country, right? Or in the Northeast or something.
Yes.
And so
I think it's the most densely populated state in the country.
Yeah. And it's like, but it feels like that, to your point, like kingdoms or fiefdoms or whatever. Yeah. Like it's just very segmented. But in New York City, I remember I used to go there to buy fake Jordans and fake clothes when I was younger. Yeah. And basically we go on Canal Street. So we go on Canal Street, and basically you have some dudes in the corner like, "Yo, we got some Jordans, we got this, we got that," or whatever. So you go to the person like, "Yo, I heard you got some Jordans," or whatever. Like, yeah, come follow me. So you go somewhere and you go into like this building that's like, it feels like it's abandoned or the space is not being used. Yeah. And then somebody will like knock on the wall 3 times, and it'll be like a false wall that somebody will move. Yeah, and you go in there, I'm talking about, bro, it was bustling. I'm talking about like at least 30, 50 people in there getting like these knockoff, jerseys or whatever. And then sometimes the cops will raid, and like either cops will come and like suspect something's happening. Yeah. Everyone like, the cops in here, cops in here. So everyone would be silent. Yeah. And then you hear somebody on like talking like, "Yeah, hey officer, how you doing? Nah, we just, doing some construction, this and that, blah, blah. All right, all right, cool. Thank you very much for checking." And then cops will leave. Like, "All right, man. So we got some Jordans right here, man. Yo, 250, this and that, blah, blah." Yeah. So like even every pocket has their own thing. To your point, it's like, New York is, I mean, there's so many like the uses of space is so like distinct. Yes. There's not like, okay, we use it for this and we use it for this. It's like, now this is used from 1 to 3 p.m. Yeah. 3 p.m. to 5 is an illegal gambling ring. Yeah. Exactly. Then from 6 to whatever, this is a dance studio. Yeah. It's
I love it. I don't know. Leaving is going to be, nobody ever talks about like living in New York City forever. It's kind of like a temporary arrangement. I think everybody's like circumstances are like, that's how temporary it is. Unless you break through to some level of wealth that's like, or you got like family wealth, or, I'm just going to take over my great grandparents' apartment or something like that. Right, call it a day. But I don't think. I mean, I'm loving living in New York for now until a price increase in rents. I was explaining this to everybody in New York. People like, because you see comedians and stuff, and it's like, "How you been? Like, what's up?" And you kind of think of like, "Oh, what have I done since I saw you?" And the big news that I was sharing with people for a while was like, "Oh, I just found out that my rent didn't go up this year." Dude, like, people are like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." Like, that's incredible. It's not rent controlled. It's just like, I don't know if it was a mistake on somebody's part, but like they were like, "Here's your rent for this year." And it was for the whole next year, and it's the same amount. And we were just like, that opens up a whole, we just anticipated that it was like going to go up, but just like by how much. And I think New York can like, the fact that that's miraculous is that's kind of an insight into New York. Every element of New York has some edge to it like that of like, man, if my rent goes up like $200, like that's gonna
It's
break
over.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like fighting in that city to just survive is like a lot, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
even
is.
now, like leaving, like living outside of New York for a year and then coming back or hearing some of these stories, I'm like, yo, what the
Yeah.
hell is going
Well,
on?
how about this? We were at a comedy club in Spain, in Madrid, and I don't think they would mind us. But there were two Spanish comedians there, and we did the shows. You and me did the shows, and then at the end it was like, hey, like had a great time, like, you're saying like, hey, let's keep in touch and something. And I said like, hey, and if you guys are ever in New York, hit me up. And they laughed in my face. They laughed. Like the concept of going to New York is like, they just weren't even gonna do it. Like they
Yeah,
were, and I was like, yeah, I get, like, I get
right.
it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right, because I mean, I think it's well known at this point that is not, especially when it comes to art,
Yeah.
that is not it's not advantageous really. I mean, kind of, I would say, because
Hmm.
maybe this is still a chip on maybe on your shoulder too, of like
Yeah.
how New York kind of it grinds you unless you fight back. If you don't
Yes.
fight back, the grinding still happens. Like you're still gonna get grinded a little bit, but it just
Yeah.
happens slower
Yeah.
if you actually try to ambitiously rise to the top. If you don't, that shit just grinds you faster.
Yeah, I think it's something that me and my wife talk about a bunch is like internal versus external locus of control. Like, which is like like you can see it pretty quickly in people that you encounter of where do you think the energy of your life, like where's the momentum coming from? Is it from outside or is it from inside?
Mhm.
And I think if you go into New York and you're like, it'll happen, things will work out for me. I just gotta wait. I just gotta be patient. Like I'm a good person. I deserve good things or something like that. Or like, I'll wait my turn. Those are
Ah,
kind of all external locus of control things, and that like might work in other places.
mhm.
But if you're putting yourself like kind of giving it to the universe of like, oh, next year will be my year, that doesn't fly in New York. That's like literally mental illness. Like if maybe it is if you get into like a job but like most of the people that I know are like internal locus of control. Like I need to generate my own momentum
Mhm.
in the face of kind of hostile opposition, but usually just like apathetic opposition, like just shit in front of you. If people just like, I don't care about anything. Why would I care about you? And so New York is just like, you just need to, you know, cut through that and overcome defense mechanisms that would like stop you. And like, I think that's what it teaches you is just like, you can get through some of those barriers. You can come up against a barrier and be like, this is insurmountable. I, there's no way. And so let me change directions and find something else. Like,
Mhm.
and it's just a city full of everybody just like in their own maze of like, just hit a wall. Just like, damn it, that was very painful. And then like, let me just pivot off. And yeah, it's just like an energy reactor that's just like everything's bouncing off of each other.
Yeah. Wow. There's still like
Which,
some
yeah,
grinding. Yeah.
at no point have we been talking about quality of life or like,
Quality of life, bro. I mean, cause think about it. With the traveling that we did to all these different cities and
yeah,
countries, like I mean, it's hard to even reference quality of life in New York City because it's almost sad.
yes, yeah,
Like the stuff we experienced, ate like in Madrid, Barcelona,
yeah,
Paris, like the lamb, like that lamb dish we had, and
yeah,
that not costing like half your arm, to
yeah,
even have that. They gave us free fries and bread and extra stuff. It's like, hey, here's more, and hey,
yeah.
this and that, and the joke and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it does make for some yeah, that's the thing about I think in any career in New York or in America too. I think a lot of the things we could talk about in New York are generalized to America as well. But like we see like the LeBron James and the Serena Williamses, and then you just don't see the bodies on the road. Like you don't
Right.
see the roadkill on the way to like
Yeah.
producing the greatness in their field. And it's not to say that like America's the only place that like makes greatness. Like Lionel Messi is Argentinian. Like there's no good American soccer players.
Mhm.
I think it's central to our identity as Americans that all of this suffering must produce greatness,
Yes.
even if you are not great. Like at least this like kind of Hunger Games situation that we're in, at least it produces Jay-Z.
Mhm.
I think Jay-Z maybe comes out of it like, maybe Jay-Z figures out music without going through like the hardships, like the institutional hardships that like are very much designed over like decades and centuries to like literally specifically put him and his people through hardship. But like I think it's central to Americans for us to be like, yeah, you keep grinding, it'll be worth it. And it's not for a lot of people. It might not be. Sometimes, yeah, it's hard to say without like context and stuff.
No, I mean, that's a good point you bring up. I think specifically in terms of that suffering to get to the other side and being successful, that whole grind and, I sleep when I dead, a very American thing. Because even living out here in Europe, like I still carry that to some degree.
Yes.
But then the people here, they're kind of like, yo, what? Why? And it's kind of like, there's no good reason. It's almost like the reasons in which I would give would just perpetuate. It would be a perpetuation of that thought process of grinding until I make something, but not really an actual cohesive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think there's something in the seeking of, validation through entertainment. I think a lot of people would get that feeling of accomplishment through like strong social connections and therapy and working out and stuff. Like to see somebody who's like, I want to make it, I want to like be a comedian, I want to like, quit my job and jump into this full thing. I would say like, okay, well, maybe there's a world where you're just happy if you just change like a bunch of things like behaviorally for you, which are also very hard. Stand up is very hard, but also changing like things about yourself is very hard. But that would be my advice is like, hey, if you're thinking about doing this, like maybe just do a bunch of other things in your life so that you can be happy in your circumstances. And then maybe you still get to that point and you're like, you know what? No, there's this striving, there's this seeking, there's this need for creation that still exists. And then I'd be like, okay, now go for it. But there's I think a lot of the, like creativity and art, like it is not for everyone. And that was what we were talking about, the Creative Act book, the Rick Rubin book. And one of the sentences I loved in there was just like, and it's possible that this act is not for you. The act, like he was like, and that was why I respected that book and respected the things in the book. Cause he's literally telling the people who are reading it, like a bunch of the people who are reading it, like everything that I'm saying does not apply to you. You are not an artist. Or you don't have like the capability to become an artist. I think like you read that book and you can make things better in your life or more creative or find like little avenues of like, making a fun PowerPoint deck,
Fun PowerPoint deck.
Yeah.
Wow.
But maybe that's it. Yeah. Maybe that's it for some people.
Yeah. It's a tough thing though. I think it's also with art to kind of maybe piggyback or kind of butt heads with that a bit is that I think in order for you to find if this is good or not, you kind of have to hit a wall or reach a point where it's difficult.
Yeah.
Basically a point where you're not happy, but then there's something else that's still driving you. Like, I mean, doing comedy, a decent amount of stuff we were not happy about, but we just still did it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's like kind of going through those rigors or whatever of like, dealing with this adversity or these issues or whatever, but then still wanting to do it and not really having an explanation.
Yeah.
I think also is important. So like, it's almost like I know when people say like, don't like the hustle culture, this and that, whatever, but there is some merit to it in that. All right, there's some things that like content creation, right?
Yeah.
Content creation is not fun all the time. That is like we really take it seriously and try to be consistent. Yeah. It is not fun all the time.
Yeah.
But then there's still something driving you to be like, all right, like let me.
Yeah, it's not all like I think when I talk about like creativity and stuff, it can sound like torture. And there is some torture and there's a lot of great, and I wonder if the relationship between that is like, hey, here's the amount of good shit you'll get, here's the amount of torture you'll get. And like I wonder if that is similar to like a regular life of like maybe it's just like less fulfilling, but the torture is lower. So maybe it's like not that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think with like content creation, again, another thing that within the content creation is also you're creating a persona, and the persona is somebody who's like having a good time. Like a comedian needs to look like they are having a good time. That's also part of the act as well. And the act of content creation too is like, it's like you look like somebody who's like happy-go-lucky or not like, you know, breaking your balls, like trying to like make shit. But that's another product is like, hey, look at me, just like having fun, goofing around, like never mind that this took like 3 hours to make. Like, but once the camera starts, it's like having fun, good time and stuff. So that's another like that's another creation is like the creation that it's like, oh, I'm just, you know, fucking around.
Yeah.
Like, look at that, you know, bumbling,
Right.
accidental, you know, kind of.
Ugh.
And it's like, no, this is, we're
Yeah.
all
I think at one point it
lunatics.
was, but now it's not. I mean, obviously with the economics of social media now, like,
Yeah.
at first on TikTok, like during the pandemic, yeah, you could talk about like, oh, I farted on my parrot's face and now I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. And now my parrot's screaming at me, millions of views. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like what's going on? I need to follow. What's going on with your parrot? What's your parrot's name? Did
Mhm.
it live? Like
Yeah.
now you got to have like a 3D, like,
Yeah. A plan, a content plan.
right, a plan before
Yeah.
you can just, I mean, you can still do it kind of, but it's not as far in between in terms of how much reach you would get to just rant on
Yeah.
camera. And it's like more, yeah, it's more difficult. And everyone they mom now is doing like,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
kind of wild. Like, I remember like the making funny shit, the barrier to make funny shit was so high when we were younger.
oh,
You would need somebody with a video camera or you'd need to get a video camera. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about comedy until I was like 23 or whatever. Like, you know, that
mhm.
was when I started doing like open mics and realized that I can make funny stuff and nobody can stop me. Like a stand-up comedy show is like you present, or an open mic, there's no barrier to entry usually. And you could present funny things and immediately get a reaction. That just seemed like insurmountable. Like, and then prior to stand-up, it was like I remember doing like real good on like video projects for school, like a theology project. We made a video and we did like, you know, tried to make like a bunch of fun things, make it educational. There's like a prompt and it was like make a 5-minute video. And me and my two friends, we made it and it was so good that they showed it to other
Oh, sure.
classes. Yeah, so they were like, these guys understood the prompt. They worked hard on it. There's some funniness in it. Our teacher was like an immigrant, so I don't think he got like a bunch of the references that we were making that might have been like inappropriate.
Yeah.
But it was so difficult to make things, and now it's never been easier to make. Everybody has a content creation machine on their phones. Yeah, it's nuts. It is probably too far in the other direction of everybody can make something all the time.
We need some hierarchies. We need some gatekeepers.
Yeah, do we? Yeah, I don't know. I think we just need more teachers. You know what I mean? Like,
More
that's
teachers.
probably what it is.
I mean, teach it, man. I mean, to teach what? Well, on this shit, bro. This shit is like
Yeah.
we. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, you got your. We'll talk about it in terms of like your way of creating content and like the
Yeah.
things you create. But I think even still, it's like figuring out like how can you even teach it unless you just throw yourself in and just
Yeah.
really figure out like, all right, I guess when I start, like people lip singing songs, like, and
Yeah.
then realizing that's a big hit, and
Yeah.
people being like, yo, everyone lip sing, why you lip singing? And that's the
Yes.
thing that's like,
Yeah.
like, whoa, okay, we're gonna follow this person. We want to hear more songs. Do this, do the Beatles, and they're like,
Yeah.
why there's requests for doing lip singing, but everyone lip sings. Well, why is
Yeah.
to teach that?
What is the I think like because all social media is doing is measuring how long you're looking at something. That's it. It doesn't but then the reason, so that's all that social media does is it feeds you things that you look at and engage with. Like it figures out your brain and it knows you will watch this type of video for longer and you will comment on this type of video. And that's what we're going to serve you. But they don't know why you are watching it for a long time. They can guess, I think, but like I think, yeah, content creation and art, I don't know if they're necessarily like the same thing, but like I think the why is pretty important of like, why do you make shit? And for us, it's like, thankfully, thank God we figured it out. It's because we want to be funny. There's so much content creation that's like, I want to get followers, I want to get reach, and it's like,
Why?
what is the goal? And the goal of being funny is weird, but it's everybody gets like, oh, okay, that's a comedian. They want to do funny shit. I don't know what drives me to want to be funny, but like that's just like thankfully we just have an identifiable goal of just like keeping funny.
Yeah.
And then getting a following intersects really hard, like really heavily with being funny more, like being funny in front of more people. So like comedy is exploding because our drive is to be funny, and then more people will watch it, and then we can be funny in front of more people. Like thank God that is the situation that like left us in for social media. I don't think music is like the same. I see like musicians struggling, like who are like, now I got to make like a viral fucking music dance or something, you know. And the music is changing in a strange way. I saw some article that it was like, you know, the TikTokification of music. Now you need like the song needs to start strong like immediately. There's no lead. There can't be any dead time at the beginning of the song. Yeah, and that's how it's spreading, is like dance challenges. Like the most of the music I've ever loved in my life has no dancing component to it.
Right.
It's really sad, like or dramatic, or like, you know, like really gritty, like songwriters and stuff. I don't know where those guys go.
I don't know either. I mean, it's so much. Can you close the blinds or something like that? Sorry, guys. It's getting dark. We're in Copenhagen.
We're in the Nordics.
You're in the Nordics, and I don't know. Yeah. Thank God I have my vitamin D pills. Otherwise, I'll be dying. But now that's a good point in terms of like how with music and how each facet of art is dealing with this social media thing that we are all relying on and also consuming at the same time.
Yeah, how weird is that?
Yeah, I mean, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. It sounds sad, but some of my news comes from social media. A decent part of it. If I'm being real, like I don't go to New York Times like I used to and read. Like I used to be a person who used to get the New York Times and read the paper. And stuff. But like now, even YouTube, I was talking to a friend that YouTube, the way it has changed my life in fundamental levels, is actually crazy. Like some of the things I've learned, like just from people on YouTube sharing information or whatever.
Oh yeah, like video editing, like the basics of video production. Like it's just on YouTube. I don't know if other fields are like this, but like, dude, if you ever want to know like everything about a camera, every camera is cataloged on YouTube. There's so much positive information out there, but yeah, I don't think it's a net positive on humanity. As somebody who's benefited from social media, I don't think it's like it might be neutral or worse. Like I don't think it's like it's like a universally like good thing. It's like, no, I think it's probably like neutral or worse.
Okay, so let's play with this, because you do have a decent following, and then obviously me as somebody's watching it now and seeing how it's benefiting you. What would be the pros and cons? Let's play the pros and cons of social media and its effects.
Yeah, negatives. Well, let's do pros first, right? There was a girl. There have been like a couple interactions. So I have like a sketch series on Instagram that's like comparing Europeans and Americans and how they like work in different ways. And I've been doing it for maybe 4 years now, 3 or 4 years now. And the positives are there's like first of all, I can interact, like having a fan base, going out to meet these people. And I think you've met these people, like the people who follow me, to a person. I mean, there's like, we met like, let's say like 450 people through the shows and stuff. Every single one of them, with the exception of one who didn't like me a lot, and we don't have to go into that. I had a heckler who was very, very unhappy with what I did.
We found out a lot about Dan and
people did not. One person did not like me.
One person did not. But
she was very vocal about it. Every other person I've interacted with is so cool, nice, polite, worldly, calm. Like just the people. I didn't choose my fan base. I just kept making things that I like and that the algorithm liked. And it was a conversation back and forth between me and the algorithm of like, here's something. They're like, no. And then like, so it's just that in the same way that like, I think, you know, a painter back in the day would like make a painting and then try and get it displayed in a museum or in a gallery, and then there's that negotiation back and forth of like, what is the gallery looking for?
Mm.
What is the style of the time? What is like, so it's just gatekeepers. It's just a different form of gatekeepers now. The gatekeeper is an algorithm and it's a machine, like, um, so there's that. Meeting these people is awesome. It's such a blur. Seeing people genuinely excited by me. It's like crazy. But the big ones, there's two. One happened recently. I don't know if I told you about it, but one happened like on the first show that I did in Austin. This woman came up to me afterwards and was like, and I don't think my early shows were as good as my shows are now. So like I just finished it and I was like, I don't know about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to do a good job. Like I can stand by the product that I put on stage now. Earlier in the tour, I was just like, just getting my feet under me. And so I was just like, I don't know about that one. It wasn't great. Like my brother was there, like his friends were there. Like, I don't know. And this woman came over to me as I was breaking down the camera gear and she was like, I was going through a divorce and your stuff was so helpful to me. Like there were times when it was like really, really, really good for me. Like, thank you so much for that. And most of the other people will say like, thank you so much. Like, and then there'll be a story like, thank you for making this. Like, it's so crazy to meet you. And then another one happened recently where it was like, this woman came up and was like, because I did one about, Trump winning the election. I waited on how long I was going to make a thing for, because all of the takes were coming in and I was really hurt by it. My wife was really hurt by it. It's so uncertain and so crazy. And I was looking for guidance from people and, in therapy and stuff. It was like, there's just you're just entering 4 years of uncertainty.
All right.
Like, it's another Trump for 4 years. Like his supporters want it like this. They want the chaos. They want things to, get, broken up and changed and stuff. And that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited a long time to do like a post-election thing. And I finally did it and I was like really proud of it. My wife was like, I think that's the best one you've ever made. Like the best sketch I ever made. The views on it weren't that good, but the shares on it, like you can go into the metrics and see how many people were sharing it. And that was like, maybe it was up there with like one of my most shared videos. And this woman came up to me a couple days ago and she said, that line that you had at the end where like you said like, oh my God, this is going to be the dumbest apocalypse. She was like, that really helped me. Like, and that's probably the proudest I've ever been of anything that I've made, of like, we are facing, like, I'm always, I think global warming is going to wipe us out so much quicker than people think it's going to. I'm just very pessimistic about the future of humanity, the future of, in a way that I think would surprise a lot of my fans. But for one person to be like, saying that this is going to be the dumbest apocalypse really helped me with Trump's win. And I don't know. Yeah, so being able to, social media as a vehicle for providing that level of connection to people, I think is magical. Like that's, what else is creativity but that exact experience where she was like, that line, and I was proud of the line. I knew it was a good line. And she was like, it was a good line and it really helped me. And I think it helped in a way that was like kind of a very confusing, uncertain, because that's what being a human is, right? It's very confusing, very uncertain. But to make someone feel less alone in that moment in a way that I was like, that was what I meant. That was what I wanted to do. And she was like, yes, I received it. Like I received it and I think it worked and it was like helpful. Like that experience would not be possible without social media and me. I don't know, maybe I can get messaging in write a book or, create a play, or those are things but the barrier to entry to social media is much lower. And so now anybody can attempt to try and get that content into people's heads. And, if your goal is being relatable or being funny and stuff like that. So that's very like profoundly moving and, one of the most incredible things that's ever happened to me. Negatives of social media is you have a numerical value. Like I go to places and like there was this one place I was in, and it was a club, and the guy was like, yo, like, congrats on the following, man, like, whatever, like, yo, like, and you know, I was talking to somebody who had like 70K, and I was talking to somebody who had like 80K, and he wasn't even saying the names of these people. He's just like, you just have a number now. The goal is to get that number as high as possible. And nobody is asking, does the person who has 1 million followers, are they happy? Are they living a good life? Are they being good to people?
Right.
That numerical value, like I showed you a picture of this comedian who is incredible. He's got the hottest hand ever. And I was like, dude, I showed it to you. I was like, he looks sick. Like, he looks like really bad in this picture. It was a really high quality picture. And that guy has like millions of followers. And so that's the biggest, without rambling too much, like, that's a big one. Like, we're the only thing, or the thing that is valued above a lot of other things, is what is your follower count. And there's no metric for like, how well are you sleeping? Are you eating well? Are you being good to your family? Like, those numbers aren't visible. It's just followers.
Yeah.
So that's where everybody's attention and stuff is going to go. And I think that's like a huge like issue, obviously.
Yeah, I think that grows into a bigger thing, because I mean, for most celebrities, we don't care about their life, really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think as you get closer, you just kind of see things. But even that, it becomes selfish, because then you're relating your. If I was in their shoes, we're not really like, you know. And I think it. And it's unfortunate too. I mean, I think that's the unfortunate thing with any type of fame at whatever level, that you're seen more as an entity of something rather than a person.
Yes.
You're being extrapolated. Like, you're now becoming like this thing, but not a human being. Like, you know, for example, if you don't answer a message on time, they're like, oh, I send you a message, you don't respond back. And you're like, I have a life. Like, maybe. Or like, oh, why did you not shake my hand? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, because I was thinking of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe I forgot.
Yeah.
Maybe I just washed my hands. Maybe I saw somebody go out the bathroom 3 times and didn't wash their hands. So I'm not trying to get sick. So I'm going to say, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think because like I have a level of notoriety, I'll call it like micro fame.
Bro, you was doing meet and greets and people was like, I was flying in for you. So yeah, don't ever do this with your hands. Somebody's flying. It better be at least 6 inches, 6 to 10 inches wide. This hand movement.
But I would say like it is kind of crazy, and I would say this to anybody who is like like feels like they're stuck or wanting to do anything creative. Like, so our best case scenario, right, is we go on stage and we just crush, like, do really well. And we've had shows that like have gone really well on this trip. That good feeling lasts for, I think, like 2 hours, maybe tops, maybe more. Like maybe you wake up with some like buzz, and then I think it can like also stabilize you in terms of like, it will buffer you against more doubts. I think that's the big thing about like success is. When you get success on stage, then for the next 3 weeks or so, you can feel like, okay, like maybe that set didn't go, but remember that other set. Like it really like levels you in terms of like, at least for me, I'm very hard on myself and very critical of myself. So doing well on stage, I'm like, hell yeah, like that will buffer me. Hey, that person's not responding to like my, request for stage time or something, or I'm not getting as much, like, all right, like at least I have that thing to feel. But for the most part, feeling like doing really well on stage, like the dopamine hit lasts for like 2 hours. And there are times when I think like just eating a good meal with my wife and eating ice cream and then watching a Netflix show like feels like pretty close to like as good. Like it also feels like really good. So yeah, I don't know, just that being like, you'd be shocked at how many other needs there still are in your life, even with success.
Yeah, and that's important too.
Yeah, still food, still sleep, still desire for like intimacy and human connection. Like those don't go away.
Yeah.
If anything, they get weird. They get weird with success. Like you get people who are like, like Orlando Bloom. Somebody asked Orlando Bloom, like, who's the actor in Lord of the Rings and the Pirates of the Caribbean. It was like, hey, what do you eat and he went through his diet, and it was just this like he just had one weird smoothie a day that had like keratin in it, like, and it was like fucking what? Like success can
Interesting.
just change the way you eat and make it like, oh, I gotta be like, yeah, it's just it can warp. It's nice, but it can warp everything else around it into
Yeah, because I
make it
mean,
like
there's also
weird.
demands around it too. It's such a tough thing because like it can like build on itself in terms of this fame and what it took for you to get there, and then the
Yeah,
assumptions of what you need to continue that in quotes fame or
yeah,
whatever to that momentum of going towards it.
yeah,
And even for myself, I would say like in terms of let's say with food, like say even with podcasting now, like there's a way I eat different
yeah,
because of like my energy levels, like
yeah,
which I, again, I didn't know until like I started like, halfway, I'm kind of like, like I could feel myself really getting sleepy and we're
yeah,
getting to like a good part of the conversation. I'm like, oh, this is not
yeah, yeah,
fucking,
yeah.
I need to do something to not like yawn
Hmm.
in this moment. I'm being recorded. Somebody's having an in-depth like,
Yeah,
oh, so when I was 5, I'm like, I cannot yawn in a story when you was 5.
yeah.
So now that's a point where my eyes got to be fixated and like, all right, I receive.
Yeah.
So now not eating that many carbs or something that are being,
Mhm.
so even with that, but then that can go off the rails to now where you don't eat, you restrict
Yeah.
yourself so much
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you're like, shit, I
Or
can't
it's
even.
yeah, it's in prioritization of the creative output in a way that is detrimental. It starts to get like
Yeah.
detrimental to the rest of your life, which is the weird
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's the weird thing about creating shit.
And it happens so easy. I mean, that's like the artist dilemma, right? Like, the starving artist or like the troubled artist,
Yeah.
that type of trope, which unfortunately has a lot of examples of that.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think those are
not
I
yeah,
feel so differently about it
yeah.
now.
Not saying that's correct. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
saying
yeah.
like if
It's a
one
trope, yeah.
yeah, if it's such a trope to so many very highly successful people that
Yeah.
it almost becomes like this reference point, unfortunately,
Yeah.
of how one should live their life, but it can
Yeah.
be done differently.
And it allows you to be treated poorly by other people because it's like, oh well, you're a starving artist, you should do this work for free, you should be
Yeah.
thankful for this because when I was doing it, first of all, they're not acknowledging yeah, I think the there's something about the economics of stand up, especially in the city, that just haven't changed. Spot pay, the pay for a spot is like still the same in a lot of places as it was in Jerry Seinfeld's. Like there's no connection between the increase in spot pay in New York and the rate of inflation that I can see. There's no like governing body that's like, hey,
Nah, at
with
all.
inflation now, we should probably like take it up and stuff. So yeah, I think that's like, I don't know. I hope we're like moving to a new I am moving to a new point in my life where I'm like, uh I'm going to cap my success. It's not, you know,
Would you
it,
say cap or redefine?
yeah, I think redefine, like if the goal is, yeah, so I now, and your views should change over time. My views on artists that I respected was different when I was growing up. You would, or like when I first started doing comedy, be like, that's the person that's getting the most things. So that's who I want to emulate. And now if I hear about like a comedian who like, I think like John Oliver, like has a good family life, is like really nice to people, like I think is, has like that 9 to 5, like working on that show, and I think the show is like does really, really important work. Like
Hmm.
um John Stewart now kind of like working once a week. Like um I mean, I think those are two people that like put in like a ton of work, but then their career output changed over time, and now I think they're like, just doing meaningful, like keep doing the work, but now it's like meaningful and they don't do anything unless it's meaningful.
Hmm.
um and they've, it seems like they've got like, good head on their shoulders. Longevity is another one, who's doing it for a while, not like who's doing exciting stuff for right now. It's like who's doing like meaningful stuff for a long time. And that and that means like taking care of yourself in a way that like doing like really cool shit really fast um is not conducive to. So yeah, I think it's just like redefining success, and it's probably Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled with where I'm at right now, and if I just kept doing this, you
Yeah.
know, evolve and change, and
Cause you just starting, bro.
challenge yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, just I mean, again, just even seeing, and this is kind of crazy too, because now, because we started around the same time, comedy, right? So
yeah,
like literally performing in rusty basements and all this
yeah,
stuff, and these weird attics, and
yeah,
stuff, to now, being in a place where even seeing you, right? Like the following, the success, and seeing people interact with you,
yeah,
and just seeing that trajectory, being like, oh shit, bro, and like even me living in Europe and seeing like, oh, the trajectory, bro, you. It's already like hot, but you can
mhm,
go so much,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But then also at the same time, making sure things are balanced, because it's so easy. I
mhm,
think in any art, especially when you're on a trajectory and a momentum
yeah,
of, just because a lot of shit coming at you, right? Like,
mhm,
you got this opportunity, that point, fucking touring now in Europe. You could do Scandinavia, you can do Turkey, you could
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
North Africa,
yeah.
you can just,
Egypt will be sick.
bro. I mean, and you could do it.
Yeah,
You could do, Dubai, all
yeah,
that shit. You can just like, completely maneuver and go wherever. But
mhm,
um, I guess to bring it back though to, where you're at now from a social media perspective,
mhm,
the thing you're well known for is being the European boss,
yeah.
right? And the European boss, I know we talked about it, and I heard you talked about it before, but what was the origins of the European boss? Like, how did that come about for you?
Yeah, it. I will try and get this right because I've told it in a bunch of different ways, and every time I leave a podcast, I'm like, that wasn't like totally true. So I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it into the bullet points. I had a tweet. I tried really hard with Twitter early on in comedy, and I had a tweet that referenced. It was like European bullet points, like has 350 days of vacation a year, and then American underneath that was like has to go to work with multiple stab wounds. That was the best tweet that I ever did in terms of the reaction that it got, and also comments, especially from Americans, of just like, yes, legitimately, I know people who have gone to work with open wounds. Or like, I just had, I gave birth, I still had the stitches in, I went to work anyway.
Ooh.
And I like knew that shit was crazy. And like, I didn't even have like a ton of experience with Europe at that time. I was just like an open mic comedian. I think I was like getting on the subway, and I was like, oh yeah, that's crazy. I guess like Europeans like have more vacation days than Americans going with like, open multiple stab wounds. Fast forward to the pandemic, when everything comes to a stop, and I had COVID early on in the pandemic, but then I was like, I just don't feel safe performing indoors. So it was like, it gets to the winter, and I was like, I'm just not going to perform unless it's outdoors. I just didn't know a ton about COVID. Like, I was being very cautious about it. And so I started making videos, and I did like, old jokes. Like, I thought of a new one. I thought of like, it was a history joke, and it was like the U.S. like world history can be defined by two events, like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand and the day Justin Timberlake brought sexy back. Nonsense. 15 seconds. 500,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like, and I was like, that was the first thing I got on TikTok, because TikTok, like in the early days, it was like a slot machine, and that one hit. And then I had another one that was like comparing the 1900s to the 2000s, and it was like, like I did like an old timey voice, and I was like, I make a nickel a day, and like, I can afford, a house for every member of my family, which is true. Like, my grandpa gave people houses, and he just gave like one of his siblings a house, or like, like real estate at that time was just like, in the 1900s, like it was the greatest market that's ever existed at all times. And then,
Right.
like, and then it was like 1900s, and then the 2000s, the comparison was like, if I break my ankle, like I'm going to be like bankrupt, I'm going to be homeless. And that one hit again, and that one got to like 1 million. And I was like figuring out that it was like, so then I saw that one, I was like, okay, that was a comparison, like 1900s to 2000s. And then I was going through tweets, and I was like, let me do the Europe versus America thing. And the first one was like, like, hey honey, what should we do with 178 vacation days this year? And then it goes to the American, and the American's like, sorry, I'm late, I just got hit by a car, but I'll make it up, I'll work through lunch.
Yeah.
That was like under 15 seconds, and that was like 7 million views on TikTok. And then I put it on Instagram, and it was like 5 million views on Instagram. And then like followings that just like 0 followers to 30,000 followers, like, or 10,000 followers in a day. And then on Instagram it was the same. And I was like, okay, let me do another one. And I think the next one, it was like about how like, oh well, like now we're getting like my wife is Australian. She took like a gap year. Like that's not something Americans usually do. Let me do one about that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you like, and there was an Australian parent, or and it was a European parent who was like, you need to take a gap year. It's me and your mother fell in love, and then you go to the American, and the American's like, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna go into debt, and then you're gonna, take the first job that you can get. And the kid was like, why? And then it was like, why? The American parent just was whipping up, getting his belt off just to whip the kid. And that one hit.
That's hilarious.
And so finally, and then I did a third one that didn't do as well. But then I was like, that European versus American thing, that's got some juice. And I think I know enough about this culture because my wife is Australian, and Australians like are really obsessed with work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know a bunch of like European stereotypes and stuff, but I think what I was able to tap into is just this like, Europeans don't take it as seriously, all this like work shit. And like, I originally was just doing every cultural thing, like relationship with alcohol, relationship with like prison, like all of the. So there's just all of those topics between Europe and America. And I got to the end of that, and I was like, not to the end of it, but the ideas just were coming slower, and I wasn't feeling like as excited by it. And I was like, let me go back to what made this series good in the beginning. The first one I did was related to work. So let me do European boss versus American boss. Let me try to get it to under 15 seconds again. And then that like had the most momentum. And so I was like, I know about American working styles. I know it's psychotic corporate America. I hate it. I fucking hate it. It's so worthy of satire. These people take themselves so seriously. I had this job interview where I like went in and I like, it was a sales job, and the guy was like, they were just fucking alpha dogging me. Like, it was so strange. This guy goes, it was for, I don't know if we want to cut this, but everybody that works there was a psychopath. I don't know if this is liable. We can cut it. I don't know. But anyway, I go in and they're like, what? Like, they're just asking me all these questions and stuff, and just like really, like, it was really adversarial. And this one guy, he goes, like, what's the reason you get up in the morning? And I was like, to make the world a better place. And he was like, no, ask me. And I was like, why do you get up in the morning? He's like, money, so I can provide for my family. Dude. Yo, these people are not human. Whatever element of humanity that existed is now gone. They sacrifice it for 8 hours a day, and they think like, and then when I go home, I'll be a regular person. Like, you are fundamentally hollowing out your soul every day. Every day is a new negotiation with the devil where you give in more of yourself to the furthering of an exploitative, colonial, destructive force that's going to just kill all of us before 2050. You're drones, you're ants with hormones in service of, a queen ant that doesn't give a fuck if you live or die. That's genuinely how I feel about like a lot of American corporate interaction. And I know that the same is true in Europe, but the Europeans can look at it and be like, that's not all there is. That's it. That's the difference. As Americans are in that system and they're like, this is it, this is it,
this is my way, this is my identity.
This is it. And Europeans look at Americans. Americans can't look at Europeans. They don't have a lot of Americans don't have the peripheral vision or life experience and the privilege of having peripheral vision and be like, oh, in Europe or in these other places, like something different is happening. But Europeans do have the privilege to look to the side and be like, that's fucking psychotic. Yeah. What we do is nuts. It's not it's not like the fairy tale that I make it seem in the videos, but it is better in terms of work-life balance. It's worse in terms of GDP. You make sacrifices so that, and the passion that you can see me get revved up talking about like the psychoticness of American corporate culture. I felt it for every second that I was interacting with these people. Yeah, I felt it in every meeting, like just like what the fuck are we doing? This is all cosplaying as adults. Yeah. I understand the reasons that it exists, but it really grinds my gears and makes me so fucking angry that we're that's where we spend most of our time.
Mm.
And so that was where the series like went next, because I had so many strong feelings about how about those things. And then I think that's it. I think that's the best description of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, just even you just feeling that passion too. 'Cause
Yeah.
I worked in corporate America for a while, and just like understanding that, you know, especially as an artist too, right? Because I
Yeah.
think the artist part really heightens that dissatisfaction or
Yeah.
discontent for that type of like style of like
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Or a question of like, why is it this way? Or like a sensitivity to like, bullshit.
Yeah,
It's all
politics,
bullshit. Yeah.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, just structures just for something to be upheld for whoever is like
Yeah.
the corporations or whatever that are basically creating this, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, just management of people that have conflicting interests, but the only combined one is money. And that
Yes.
even that it being fractured, like the
Mhm.
concept of money, but it obviously being fractured in terms of the amount you're offered
Yeah.
and how you're valued based on the money or position or the perceived money you get, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could be a vice president, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's vice presidents that make less than like a mid-level developer or something like that
Yeah.
in tech or something like that.
Yeah. And I think the difference is Europeans look at that and they're like, that's, there's just kind of like a, what? Like,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the difference. Like, and Europeans like have, I think, more first, and it's systems too, right? But like Europeans, their systems for work-life balance are better. It's because that they value it, but they also had governments that were like more representative of their will, and they were able to apply pressure. And it's not a two-party system; it's a multi-party system. So you can like, the left comes in and the right comes in. Like, there's just more opportunity for change. I think everything is like stagnant now in like late stage capitalism or whatever. You're not going to see like revolutions. I don't know. You probably will, but so yeah, that was I'm still in that spot. I still every day I think of like, or I have a new interaction where I'm like, you know what? Like, that's something that's like very different between Europeans and Americans. So yeah, future wise, like, I don't know. I think there's more juice in this series. I'd like to get more like stand-up clips online, which I think is,
Yeah, it's definitely
kind of the next project. We've been filming all these shows and stuff. So, but yeah, it's been very beneficial for me. Like, social media is like for sure a net positive on my life.
I've seen it. Yeah.
I can't say that for everybody else.
Yeah. And I mean, you got in aside from the passion and stuff, and like creating these things. So you write these things out, like you actually plan for it and like really structure it well, right? And you honed in and really made this great. And also too, I think the timing also like because during the pandemic time, also as a comedian who also took it seriously and didn't go out and stuff, like I was starting to create things, but it was still finding ways, and I didn't really like pull the lever hard, or just maybe the wrong kind. Like there's some that started doing relatively well, like more better of me doing like the best way to do something. Like I'm like the best way to walk in a bad neighborhood is to never look up or on your phone too long.
Yeah.
This and that and blah blah. So then you do this with like kind of advice type of shit. And then it kind of then start going to when I moved to Europe, that's when it's like it was American being in Europe being like, yo, y'all keep the windows open? Like, what about the screens? Like, yo, a beat. And like some shit would like literally happen where I had the window open. Because like on the lease, it's like mandatory. You have to. If you don't, like you will be fined. Like you need to have the window open.
That's nuts.
Right? So a bee flew in and bro, it was like I felt like it was a hostage situation. I'm like, yo, what? It was a wasp actually. I was like, what the fuck? So then even like being like, oh damn, y'all should talk about it. So like everything that I was saying was like the same. But anyways, so you are a person that came from 0 followers all the way to where you're at now. You're a comedian as well. So like stand-up comedian, it's difficult sometimes to get that to jump from a 0 to where you're at now.
Yeah.
And in terms of you being a comedian and what you do, content creator, and whatever you want to add to it, what are the top 3 tips you would give to someone who would want to start their social media journey and really?
I wanted to like. I think there's parts of me when I'm doing comedy, I'm just like, like it would just be easier to like teach this and make money that way. Like, and I do have a desire to like give this knowledge to people. So I have been thinking about it a little bit. The first one, I think it would just be like, first of all, it's like this is only advice for comedians. I do not know how to go viral in anything else. I think the first piece of advice would like be hot. Like, and that I think is like important because it's like, it's stupid, it's not actionable, but now you know the rules.
Yeah.
If you're hot and you have algorithm face, like that's very useful.
Algorithm face.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're not hot, like, yeah, if you're hot, like then skip ahead. You don't have to worry about anything else.
That's number one and only. You got that?
Be hot.
Yeah.
So other than that, I think it would be like, if you're a comedian, not copy, like, because like I think it's like great art. Good art is influenced, and great artists steal, or something like that.
So
like,
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some quote that's like it's not the plagiarism as a definition is different in art. It would be different in like, so I think like let go of like, oh, that person's doing that, so I can't do that. Like, and I think TikTok and Instagram have broken that of like, hey, if there's somebody who you admire, don't copy them directly, but take the parts of it that you admire and try to do that as well. I would say, yeah, so first of all, I would probably get like 5 people that really tickle you. Just list those people out. You know, this person, not followers. Just a thing that captures you and like you like. And maybe followers and maybe see, you know. But it should be like stuff that you like. Because the format that I had of like comparison, it was like some guy like who did one that was like getting a job in the 1970s versus getting a job now. And that was like, I was like, oh, that's replicable. And, you know, I didn't make the comparison video. And I also don't know why more people aren't copying me directly. Do it. Like I didn't trademark it, you know, like other people, I've seen other people who are like flirting around with it and stuff, but like, so that's 5 influences. Get 5 influences of people that you like, 5 comedians that are making shit that you respect. And then I would say try and make micro content. Under 15 seconds. Do a bunch of different things. Do a bunch of different, you know, maybe a comparison vid. I'm not a fan of stitches. I don't like those. I don't think those are like sustainable. Where like it's like you play the video and then you stitch your reaction onto the end of it. That's whatever. Go for it if you want to. But try and make like micro content that is funny, set up, punch, or comparisons like way under 30 seconds, the quickest thing that you can do. And then I would say what makes you unique, and write down the things that are like unique to your person, and then just try and make 20 videos with those things, right, in the style of like one of the 5 people that you like, try to get it under 15 seconds, under 20 seconds, and then do that 20 times and do it religiously, like really like say no to a bunch of shit in your life so that you can make the videos, get good lighting. And then that's it. I think that would just be, and unfortunately that's like pretty open-ended and pretty challenging, but like I don't know how to go viral in any other way other than the thing that I do.
Yeah.
And you won't either. You know, when you do it, you won't know exactly why it's going viral.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what to do because I don't know you. But I think that would set you up like that would get you most of the way there. And then it's like write constantly, edit ruthlessly. So do a bunch of them and then just follow which ones do the most success. Hey, you know, clip 15 out of 20 did the best. Okay, let's try and open that up into a series. Like, what are some other angles on it? What are the things that like worked on it? And then the next video, it's like, okay, that like got a little bit further. Like, it's just constantly, and like kill your darlings. Like, I love this one. This is the best one I've ever done. And it bombs. And it's like, you need to let it die. You need to just do the things that work. Like, Ben is a friend of mine, and he went super viral it was like a guy who was organizing the floats on the Olympic parade. And he was like, okay, we can put these two countries together. Like they're at war with each other, like Iraq and or like Iran and Israel, or like.
Yeah.
And so it was a guy who was like actually trying to like do that, and it went super viral. And then I was like, oh, Ben, that's fucking awesome. That's really, really specific. I don't think that's going to apply. He did a second one and that did well. And I was like, but like you just need to you just need to hope that the thing that goes viral is replicable.
Right.
And that's magic. That's like not magic, but that's like kind of beyond your scope. Make the thing that goes viral and then hope that it's replicable. And then just keep repeating and iterating and making things better.
Yeah.
Caption it. Make sure the captions are legible. Make sure the captions are in the safe zone.
Yeah,
like
right above like the thing, yeah.
Yeah, make sure your head isn't cut off. Make sure there's no typos. And I think that's it. That you might go viral if you do those things. I don't know.
No, that's a good. I mean, more information in terms of what worked for you, the better. Because I mean, then it just adds into this pool of like some of the things people can do in order to get to that place. Because sometimes there's a lot of prescriptive, like you do this.
Yeah.
And from you're speaking from the point of view of what worked for you. Like even now, listening to you, I create content and stuff of like 15 seconds. I have my thoughts of maybe like I don't know, 60 seconds or less or something.
Yeah.
And then now hearing this, I'm like, all right, well, let's play around. So like, I think the whole, maybe to add to what you're saying, which is good information, is that to just try and see what works, and then just hope that this is replicable, and then just kind of double down on it.
You should copy the format and create your own content. Like copy the format of things that are working currently, and then add your content into it. And shorter. But the saying under 15 seconds is like the ruthlessness of like no one's gonna watch over a minute.
Yeah, that part, yeah.
But maybe, like in general, like, but there are exceptions, but like saying keep it under 15 seconds, it's like because the average person or a person who's starting the content journey will be like, yeah, but I can, it's like, nope. Like it has to be as short as humanly, and I'll write it out like on a marble notepad, like the ones, it's just a notebook style. And if I don't get it under 3 lines, then I'll like cut, like different things, like just to get it to as brief as humanly possible. And so keeping shit to like 15 seconds, like I think is like, it's like, oh, that's unfair. It's like, there's a way.
Yeah.
There's a way to get shit under 15.
And even still, your videos to this day is still 15 seconds.
No, now I'm up to like 30, but like, I think, just shoot for 15 and you'll end up around 30.
Yeah, definitely a 30-second mark is like, even for me playing around, but even 15 seconds.
Yeah, but also then the rules change as you go on. Like now that I've got a following, like they expect certain things. So like my hook is immediate. It's a picture of me with a scarf with a European thing, and so the people who know me are like, oh, okay, it's another Dan video, and the people that don't know me can figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah,
that it's like, okay, this is the guy who's pretending to be European.
Yeah, and then you got so many videos at this point, and
so the rules change as you go on as well. You probably get more wiggle room.
Yeah.
And you can repost old content. That's the best. It's just like I have 4 years worth of content. So like if I have like a slow week or something, I could just be like, hey, what if I just repost that old video?
And that should probably give you more reach sometimes.
No, I think Instagram has like changed it so that they won't let a repost blow up as much as the original. It didn't used to be the case, and then again, this is everybody's just talking about their own experience. That's my experience. I don't have Instagram.
Right.
I changed the rules.
Yeah.
Fundamentally. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. So one more question I have for you, I like to ask this with everyone, is that you've been through a lot. Obviously, growing up and stuff, Jersey, from now you being an international superstar.
Yeah.
So
international comedian.
International comedian. Sorry,
Yeah.
superstar has so many different connotations, right?
Yeah.
International comedian performing. Also seeing how far you came. Again, when we first started comedy, New York City. Now we're both in Europe doing comedy.
Basements. Yeah.
Smelly basements. Ooh, or hot, humid attics.
Yeah.
Above venues that were having a lot more fun than us.
Yeah, where you could hear laughter. You could hear people having a better time. So many open mics in New York are near places that are having way more fun. You can hear through the door.
Oh, so sad. We just walk out, rusty attic where there's enough space for your neck to really like stand up and like really sit down.
Or it's with people who you like, and then the worst thing that could happen is that comedy would start. You would have so much more fun with those people if you just hung out with them.
Yeah.
But then the act of doing open mic comedy begins, and everybody's like, oh fuck.
Oh, we gotta sit through this. All right.
Yeah.
It's almost like work. Yeah, kind of like work. Like, oh, all right, we're on the clock. We gotta.
Yep.
All right, we gotta hear this bad premise. But yes, in terms of you coming, how far you came, where you started in New York City to where you are now. What's the what's some advice you would give to your younger self?
I don't know. Like, you're right. But that's like, isn't that a crazy thing? Is like, not like stick with it, or like a lot of the things that you are thinking are, or that you feel are like wrong. Like you're right. Like you're young, so like keep, you know, blowing the doors off in terms of like working as hard as you can. Yeah, you're right. I think would be like, I don't know how many people have ever told, like, not that like, oh, I proved everybody wrong or something, but like there was so much uncertainty from my family around it and from like coworkers and stuff, and like, that blind faith in yourself, like to just be like, no, you're right. You should have faith. You're right. You're putting a lot of effort into this. It's not wasted. You're right. As just a ghost, because then even then I don't think if I could tell my younger, it would just be like, I'm not gonna tell you where it's going, because then you'll like align yourself to it and it'll change things, but it'd be like, no, you're right. Yeah
And just figure it out. But whatever it is you're figuring out in the trajectory, you're right.
The direction is, you're right. I've had that with like I think I chose like the right wife, and like us like coming together, like even that there was like doubts around that and like sacrifices around that, just like, it's like, you're right about your wife and comedy. You're right. There's doubts. They'll always be there, but you're right.
Yeah.
Like, that would be it. I don't know if everybody can say that. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of comedians like work and there's not a ton of output, or like everybody's path is like different. But mine, I think, was so much self-doubt and so much like beating myself up. So for one person to be, and people did say that along the way. People like, like, you're good, keep going. Or like, friends who like you respect and they give you their opinion and stuff. So they're always like signposts. But I think somebody just saying like, you're right, would have just like, okay, like, I don't have to worry that much. Like,
Right. And it's tough too. I mean, that's such a good advice, again, because even in those places, because again, we're in similar places as well. So like even like, bro, we couldn't even imagine this right now being in Copenhagen. You about to do a show opening for like that. You said that out loud. You would have been, you would have lost friends.
Yeah.
So like, to your point of that advice, that is very good advice now that you broke it down, because it does at least alleviate some of the anxiety and self-doubt that you would have going on this path, because it's been weird so far and still is weird.
Yeah. I think it would apply to anybody with like a creative who's pursuing something creatively. It'd be like, no, you're right.
Yeah.
It's something that's it's worthwhile. 10 years in, at least. I don't know, 20 years in.
God knows where the fuck we'll be. I don't know, we'll be in Antarctica fighting the last of the people during this apocalypse in 2050.
The
whatever
Zokus, the Zoku people.
Right, the Zoku people, listen to Prince Vegeta motivation on our last bar of battery on our cell phone. Be like, I need his motivation one more time. Let's fight him off.
Go Super Saiyan in Antarctica. That's where we'll be in 10 years, is you and me just like trying to stay warm.
Just got a polar bear and just, I don't know, just somebody riding a dolphin in the Arctic. Just weird. He's like, all right, I don't know. The polar caps are melting and everything.
Things aren't going to get less weird. I'll tell you that much.
No, definitely not, man. So shout out to the Zoku people.
Yeah.
This is
specific.
Very inside information. It's not actual people, but. Bro, thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Now let's go back to hanging out
for
more time. Because they'll be like, oh, now they went separate ways. We did not. We stayed together because we have at least 10 more hours together. 12 more hours together probably.
Ooh,
so
we're about to do a show right after.
Yeah, let's go.
There you go.
Copenhagen tickets are not on sale because it's coming out of the future. So.
And it's sold out.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go. So, guys, thank you very much for listening and or watching the Third Culture Talk podcast. I'm your boy, Jan Yennefen. This is Dan Pulzello, the international comedian star.
Yeah, there we go. Nice and modest,
There you go, nice and modest. The international comedian.
Yes.
All right. And thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace.